running around a one turn and then having to go to the tight 2-turn test. This time around for these win in your ins, they're going to have that feather in their cap already.
Speaking of win in your in, well, first I'll just let you talk a little in the money media. I always like to promo when we have you sit in, and I'm sure this week there was some interesting conversation, and we'll get into it a little bit too before we get into this card. But we have an international pick 5 coming up, and as I say, I'm sure you talked about that in the money.
Oh yeah, we have that covered. Written content, loads of it for free over at inthemoneypodcast.com. Racing across the country, we've got free tips and analysis just about every racing day. That's something we encourage people to check out. The In the Money Media YouTube channel is a great repository of information. Just go to In the Money Media, search for that on YouTube. Even if you just search for In the Money YouTube channel in a regular search engine, that'll bring you there. We encourage folks to subscribe and check that out. And if you're like me and still like to have the earbuds in and listening to podcasts, we got you covered there too. In the Money Players Podcast. If you search for that and subscribe, you won't miss any of our content covering races, not unlike you guys, all year long, trying to give players information, actionable information they can use. And we love to hear from you too. And hopefully can be like we were on here last time, and we'll have some successes and some plaudits coming in as opposed to the rotten fruit.
Which is, the yin and yang of the game, certainly. But, the In the Money Media empire, doing a great job there, and you can pick up a lot of the content. But we've alluded to it already. When we sat down, we said, let's start things out just kind of talking maybe about the 2 international races. And again, fill people in on what the international pick 5 entails.
So this is really cool. And of course,
it is too, yeah,
as somebody who makes their living at times trying to talk about American form to English and Irish people and people throughout the world, and occasionally gets the chance to do that in reverse, it's really fun for me when we get cross-pollination like this. Things start off in that global pick 5 with the St. Ledger, the oldest classic, the third of the English Triple Crown races. And this is an interesting one where you're going to have 2 horses at the top of the market in Scandinavia and Lambourn who are certainly live, but I think there's an opportunity to maybe get a little bit cute. The 2-runner in that race, Karmers, is one that I wanted to have on side. Look, maybe the most interesting to me from a betting point of view. That last run in the Voltiger, very strong on the eye, very strong on the clock as well. Has beaten both the favorites at other times and is going to be a bigger price. That's one I want. I'm not going to stand in the way of Scandinavia. Very obvious. Aidan O'Brien has such a tremendous record in this race, and that was a very strong bit of form, beating a tough elder in Illinois last time in the Goodwood Cup, and didn't have the easiest trip there either. This is one that I need to keep on side. O'Brien has another one if I can afford in a few combinations. Stay True is the other one I want. I'm going to stand against the dual Derby, as they would say, winner in Lambourn, and go with the 2, the 5, and the 6 in the Ledger to kick off the global pick 5.
I like Scandinavia, obviously. If I was going to play around a little bit, Tyriant's on the outside at 30-1, coming in off a win at York. Again, the Stay True. Stay True to me is just an interesting story in that, as compared to American racing, this classic, they go 1 mile and 13/16, so they travel quite a distance. He's doing it start number 4.
Yeah, but that's been done. O'Brien won the race with one with a similar profile last year. The other fun note on Stay True for me, be very appropriate to have one from Galileo's last crop. He's had such dominance in this race, winning it a bunch of times, having sons of his win it a bunch of times. That Galileo blood could come to the fore. And if it was anybody else, so you might say, oh, what about the experience? With O'Brien, I think you can trust and throw in Stay True if you're a believer. Just a question for me of how much I'm ultimately going to spend.
It just shows, the difference between racing over here and racing over there to take that shot, and God bless him for taking the shot. That will go off at about 10:40, the St. Ledger from Doncaster. A little bit later on, also included in that pick 5, 12:30 our time. Again, go off 10:40 our time. 12:30 our time is the Irish champion at Leopardstown, and the favorite in there, Delacroix, for Aidan O'Brien. What are your thoughts on the Irish champion?
Yeah, Delacroix is a very, very interesting horse. Clearly has the best form in the race. Loves it around Leopardstown with that previous course and distance success. Also has tactical speed, which I love, that ability to make his own trip. This is a horse who's supposed to win. Doesn't mean he has to win, but is supposed to win. And there's the pedigree angle, too, being out of the great Tepid.
Yeah, there's certainly a pedigree to talk about there with Dubai and Tepin. You're talking about a real blue blood there. For me, White Birch was maybe a little bit interesting as well. Has a nice record, although this year, again, comes in with only 2 starts under the belt as we're now into September. So that's a little bit interesting. But I thought that one, Shin Emperor has some back class maybe.
Yeah, ran well in this last year. I wanted him in the mix too. Yahagi-san is just, he ships all over the world and wins. This has obviously been the target for a long way out. I think he's one to include if you're going beyond the favorite.
And again, the rest of the global pick 5 includes the grade 1s up here at Woodbine. So fun bet. Maybe take a look into it today. And again, we'll talk as we get into racing across America around 9:15. Luke Elder from Sky Sport will give us some insights on some of the Euros here, and maybe get some insights also on those 2 European stakes that will play into that pick 5. All right, ready to jump in?
Let's do it, my friend.
All right, opener today at Woodbine. It'll kick off at about 1:05. It's Woodbine Mile Day, and we are live. And yesterday was a gorgeous day when we were bouncing around the backstretch. Today, fingers crossed, I think it's going to be a nice day as well. It's a little overcast as we speak now, but it seems like when people hit me with the forecast yesterday, it looks like we'll be okay here. So yeah, the opener, mile and a 16th, maiden optional claimers. Your thoughts on race number 1?
Be including in things. That's the 7 Run Mateo Run. But I thought Alzado, the 2 runner, was worth a look as a possible pace play, stretching out in light, dropping. And I thought that some slightly lower profile connections might mean you get a decent price on Alzado, not just a hunch play for old Oakland Raiders fans. Run Mateo Run off this drop makes a ton of sense, and I think it's going to get a good trip from an attacking spot. The third one I mentioned is one more for underneath for me. That's the 3 Beach Factor, second-time starter who can obviously improve on that angle. But I was mainly going to be 2 and 7 and maybe a little bit the 3 to kick things off. How do you see it?
It's a little throwback, a little Mile Elson. I like that.
I'm assuming that's the reference of the name. Maybe not.
That's a good question, though. 6, 7, 5, and 2 for me. I went with Audie's World, who was the second choice, I believe, at 3-1. But this one comes in with a series of numbers that are okay and gets a class dip that I think could make those numbers more productive against this bunch. Run Mateo Run also, same scenario, getting a little class relief, as you said, the 2-1 favorite. And with the class relief, those numbers this one typically throws, I think are going to be a good fit in this bunch. And Starvin in the 3rd spot, really similar scenario to the top 2. Comes in off some numbers that are pretty good against a little bit better. Seasonal debut was a little bit disappointing. Had a couple of races last year that I think if we get back to, this one could be a player as well. So for me, in the opener, 6, 7, 5, and 2. Race number 2 today, optional claimer, starter allowance, 7 furlongs, the trip. I have it 5, 6, 7, and 1, hard to capture. Just comes in good form. Couple of decent little second place finishes. 3 starts back, a nice win. So as I say, comes in nice form. The numbers this horse is throwing fit with this bunch very well. So it seems kind of logical to me. Catherine's Gem, last couple of starts were on the turf. And if you go recently, the last 3 or 4 starts, there are some synthetic races back that the number wasn't quite as good, but you go 4, 5 starts back on the synthetic at this trip, ran very well to win with a solid number. So I'm hoping with the move from the turf over back to the synthetic, we get to that race 5 starts back. And again, as they say, track and trip ran well. So Catherine's Gem, I will say, let me kind of go back. I actually put hard to capture on top off that, as I say, good form. And then Catherine's Gem, also good form for me. But you're going up the 5 starts back. So we'll see if we can bounce back to that. And then Lois Len in the 3rd spot, another one in good form recently. Nice win in June, then a little bit of a layoff for much of the early portion of the summer. The comebacker was an okay 3rd, tends to show some speed. So we'll, we're towards the outside 7th, no big deal. But hopefully we get a good position early. And I think if we do and can kind of get a little separation, Lois Len might be tough to reel in. So for me, 5, 6, 7, and 1. Pete?
It's like we planned the segue because you'll go from talking Lois Len right to me talking about Lois Len. I really felt like Lois Len might be the only speed in this race and was thinking Sofia Vives, who can ride so well from the front end, might be able to just get to the front and stay there in this spot. Our number's very similar, though. I did have Hard to Capture in second. I love that angle, something we've talked about on the In the Money airwaves many times with professional player and Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge champion. Should mention also there's a BCBC qualifier today at Woodbine. But Sean always talks about how when a horse can show increased early speed and still run similarly late and in the overall final number, that's a horse that has the potential to improve even more. Hard to Capture has that angle. I definitely want to have in the mix. And then I also did want to think about including Catherine's Gem somewhere as one who could get the right kind of trip to hit the board. I had it 7, 5, and 6 to close out the early double.
Yeah, same idea, just juggled up a little bit. All right, race number 3 this afternoon. These are maiden specials vying for 115K. They're going to go a mile. And again, inner turf. It's all inner turf because the main turf course. If you watch the races today, you may say, oh, the main turf course looks all right, but they're doing rehabilitation. If you look at the backstretch is all torn up, and that the game plan is to redo the whole main turf course. So again, everything will be on the inner. Your thoughts on race number 3?
Yeah, race number 3 is the start of the All Stakes Pick 5, another one of the special bets that's cooking today. The number 6, Meilani, I thought was very interesting. This one thought had 2 rather inefficient runs, sprinting, just doing a bit too much early. I was hoping Pratt might be able to get Meilani to settle here in the first start going long and might be able to seize control of proceedings, probably in part because we're talking about the tight 2 turns of the inner. I'm looking for horses inside. I'm looking for horses that are going to be able to make the speed, but that's obviously an angle on synthetic as well as turf, the way these courses are configured. There were some tricky posts for the others I'm going to mention, but I'm still going to leave in. You mentioned about having some ideas on the outside. I'm still going to leave in a lot of these runners on the outside in the hope that the market might overreact. We get a little bit better prices on some of them. At least as backups, I'm going to want to include a runner like number 11, On My Time. I think he has more speed than showed last time when impeded at the break. The breeding looks good for going longer, and we're going to get a little bit of a line on the Catch a Glimpse form that'll come into play later on when we get into the grade 1 action. That's another note I had on the 11, On My Time. And El Barrio for the same connections. Ran a race last time that made me think was starting to figure things out a bit and could improve going a bit longer. I had it 6, 11, and 10.
Yeah, this is one of those races, as I said earlier, I am on the outside with the 11 on top, and we'll get a feel for how the outside posts do. I went 11, 8, and 10 in the 4. I thought this Kinsey Girl at 20-1. That price seems crazy to me. I think Kinsey Girl is a real player. I debated about Your Horse the 6. It's a fun race, but I went out to the 11, On My Time, by Not This Time, certainly notable as a sire so far this year. These stats are maybe a week or so old. 66 first-time starters, 12 wins, 9 seconds, 12 thirds. Now, this one hasn't lived up to it yet, but it's Mark Casse. You have to appreciate they came out of the 3rd in June at Gulfstream and went into the Catch a Glimpse with a 1-start maiden and ran an okay 4th behind, of course, you have Veloce and Dinah, who are coming up in the stakes later. This one, the dam produced a sibling called Rushy that won 3 of the first 7 starts of the career, including the Pat Day Mile in 2020. So a nice sibling to look at. Gambling Holiday, another sibling, won in start 3 and start 5. So win early, not necessarily the first start, but it's the 3rd start here for the Casse runner. The negative is the post position, obviously, but I'll put that one on top and hope. At 15-1, Josie Carroll has an interesting runner in here by Gun Runner. Mary Goodnight took a little action in the debut at 7-1 and had some trouble. So hopefully benefits from that experience, maybe moves forward at a nice price. And I also used El Barrio, another Mark Casse runner who, again, made a nice close last time when moved to the turf. I think is interesting today, but again, we're hung up a little bit on the outside. So fingers crossed there. But for me, in race number 3, 11, 8, 10, and 4. But again, take a look at that 7. If that 20-1 holds up, I'm interested. 4th race this afternoon, maiden optional claimers. I'm at a mile and a 16th. I'm 7, 3, 6 and 4. I'll put number 7 on top. Starship Serenity comes in off a close-up second place finish last time against Similar. So just seems to be in good form and maybe good and improving form, maybe primed for a good effort this afternoon. So I'll put that one on top. Second slot, I'll look at Bella Classica, who tends to come from out of it a little bit. You're always up against it when that's the case, but steps back to the synthetic after a couple of turf tries, may get the wake-up call with that surface switch for Catherine Day Phillips, and then Fast Phoebe in the third spot. Only the second start of the season, started once last year, but the comebacker was a little bit of an improved effort. If that continues, I think that one could be a player as well at a 10-1 morning line. 7, 3, 6, and 4 for me.
A lot of very similar numbers and one different one, but I'll start with Bella Classica, who I put on top. I was thinking could be a little bit better on synthetic and was thinking that the drop in class might mean that she could be a little bit closer than in those previous races against better that had faster paces. I was thinking that a positive trip might bring Bella Classica forward in this spot. The one that you didn't mention in your numbers that I'll give a shout out to is the 5 Nyata. This one, I don't have a clocker report or anything, but that workout two back, that bullet work at Churchill looked really interesting. And I was wondering, does that mean this horse could get sent in a race without a ton of speed? This under the radar outfit has some pretty good, at least, on the national stage in the States, has some interesting numbers, good numbers on the year. I thought Nyata was worth a look. And then Starship Serenity, who I imagine will be the favorite. This horse usually there or thereabouts, should be again. I don't have anything particularly clever to say, but I definitely want it in my picks. 3, 5, and 7 for me.
All right, race number 5 this afternoon. Optional claimer, non-winners of 2 lifetime. They'll go 8.5 furlongs in the 5th.
I like Regal Moment in this spot. Thought the horse had a tricky trip last time at stakes level. And this is another one I was thinking there was a chance from that inside draw they might just send, and I thought had a chance to prove the best speed. I definitely also wanted some 6s on my tickets. Just Magnificent comes out of that same race, and I felt like she was probably against the flow of the track, and I could see her improving this day. Another one I was going to mention, more for underneath than on top, but maybe worth using for a penny. The 5, Good Is Gone. Just thought the form looked like it was headed back in the right direction and has some back races that fit. Mostly 1 and 6 and a little 5.
Yeah, I left the 5 out. I may regret that, but I went 1, 6, 3, and 2. I also put Regal Moment on top. Nice little third place finish last time in a stakes race on a series of numbers that seemed to be moving in the right direction. It was a lifetime best last time. Sometimes it takes him a while for the light bulb to turn on. This one has broken the maiden already. Did that in the career debut. You think the light bulb would have went on there, but the number was a little light and seems to be improving number-wise, given, again, last time the lifetime best number. That fits very well with this bunch. So I'll put Regal Moment on top. Second spot, I'll go out to Just Magnificent. I just think overall is going to fit nicely with this particular group. I think also tried Stakes Company last time, so also maybe a little bit of class relief as compared to that. Certainly looks like a player in with this particular group. And Lady Izzy, this horse might be the class of the bunch, and I might have tilted in that direction. But hasn't been seen since December last year. I will say, however, this is the kind I talk about occasionally. Lightly raced as a 2-year-old, gets a break, comes back as a 3-year-old. Sometimes these horses come back improved. And if we get even modest improvement, I think Lady Izzy is definitely a player. So couldn't leave it out of the mix. In the 5th, 1, 6, 3, and 2. And now we start the stakes competition, race number 6. It's the summer. This and then the Talma for the 2-year-olds on the turf, winning your ends. They're always fun every year. They produce runners that, and it was last year, I like Nitrogen and the appropriate stake. And mid-stretch at about 40-1, I thought, oh, I got this. And then no. And I jumped on Nitrogen again in the Breeders' Cup, and it was still a big price, and still I thought I got it and just came up a little bit short, and then Nitrogen proved to be Nitrogen a little bit later on. Unfortunately, it was too late for the price, but we'll see what we can come up with today. In the summer, a Grade 1 event, a mile on the grass. I'm 3, 9, 8, and 5. I put time frame on top, and again, we'll hope Mark Cassie at a price. Time frame is 20-1 on the morning line. Johnny Velasquez will be riding. By night, not this time, lived up to it with a win in the second career start. Market improvement on the number, start 1 to start 2. Now, The numbers compared to the rest of this bunch are maybe a little light, hence we'll get a price. But this horse is lightly raced, tries 2 turns for the first time, has some nice winning siblings. I will say the dam's first foal was in 2009, so maybe she's getting a little long in the tooth. But this one has proven okay, having won in the second career start. Have Mark Cassidy on your side in a stake up at Woodbine. Can't knock that. So I'll go with Time Frame on top. Second slot, I'll go out to Military Time. Also a Mark Cassidy runner, won in the career debut, did it despite some trouble and did it with a very good number. And Marcus J going out for Kevin Attard. I had Kevin Attard and Pietro Moran both interviewed yesterday and put the pieces together, causing me to drop in the replay of the debut for Marcus J. It was pretty good looking, I have to admit. So that one's also a player. So for me, in the summer, 3, 9, 8, and 5.
It's this kind of race where you can talk about so many different runners, and it's a good place, I think, generally to fish for long shots, because you talk about how the numbers don't always match up with what they're going to do. They're not as predictive, I think, with these 2-year-olds, especially in these 2-turn grass tests. You'll see horses who can then just improve leaps and bounds because they get better and because the figures are hard to make. I was going to look to overseas in this one, but not in the Appleby direction. I thought that the 4-runner, the Secret Adversary, looked very interesting in here. You'll recognize that man in the saddle, Frankie Dettori. I really like this horse's
run. How about him winning the title at Kentucky Downs?
Amazing, amazing,
Crazy.
I mean, it makes sense, right? He is so adaptable to different courses for having his whole career, being able to adjust and go from place to place. And it just felt like he was a bit more in tune out at Kentucky Downs. And I think similarly, he'll be in tune with what he needs to do here on a runner like this. And I'm hoping that's going to mean a little bit more positive, a little bit more forward. Definitely concerned about saving ground. And this horse has good form. I mean, the Chesham run, that's a very tough test back at Royal Ascot. This horse was a good second in there. Came back last time to get back to winning ways. And, you know, this is a different type of course than anything this horse has faced before. But given Dettori, given the way the draw worked out for this one, I think the Secret Adversary is a legitimate contender. One that's going to have a little bit of trouble potentially based on the draw is the 12, Teddy's Rocket. But this horse was so impressive to me on debut at Saratoga. The angle we were talking about before about how much these horses can improve figures from start 1 to start 2. This is a very aggressive spot for Miguel Clement, but I mean, I think he knows what he has. And this is one where I'm just hoping the crowd says you can't win from the 12 and you end up getting twice the price you would have gotten on Teddy's Rocket. Teddy's Rocket was drawn in the first 5. I might have made my selection, so I'm not going to throw out completely. I really like the 4 and the 12 for my horses to be on the top line in here, Secret Adversary and Teddy's Rocket. And then I won't go at the same length, but I think you're absolutely right about Time Frame as one to include. And I think Argos is a horse that I want to bet back. This was my selection in the Soaring Free. Didn't quite work out, but the horse was third after a wide trip, and any further improvement, good draw, could be a contender as well. So if I can go 4 deep in certain combinations, it'll be the 4 and the 12 is the mains, and the 1 and the 3 is the backups. But I wouldn't argue with a lot of different ideas in here. It is a place you could get cute.
You said at top of the page, I wrote competitive. I left out Teddy's Rocket. I could have made the case there. Caisson for Mark Cassidy, I think, is very dangerous. And Teddy's Rocket, I remember the win up at Saratoga. Steve Dunker, one of the owners, it's named after his kid, Teddy, who is literally a rocket scientist at like age 18 or something. It's crazy. So,
I didn't know the story of the name. That's great.
He was talking about the winner's circuit.
It is funny how often that works out, that the good names, those personal connected names, can end up running so well. We've seen a lot of that. Oh, and I should correct something I said before. This, of course, is the start of the
Alt Stakes Pick 5. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Race number 6. The summer, which kicks off just a little before 4 o'clock. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, more stakes action from Woodbine. Stay tuned.
You've seen the best, now you want the best, but the time 코리아컵 출발합니다.
이 순간을 위해 여기까지 달려왔다. 이제 내일을 향해 뛴다.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Welcome back. Yes, we are live from Woodbine on Woodbine Mile Day. Don't forget, we'll also be live tomorrow morning, a little recap action. Same time, 8:30, we'll do some handicapping and a little, as I say, recap. Hope to get Ron Gerking in here and a couple other folks as well. Should be fun. Tomorrow as well, 8:30 again. Tomorrow morning, so mark that on your calendar. But we're in today doing a little handicapping at 9:15. We'll kick into Racing Across America as well as some of those taped interviews and more. But joined now by Peter Thomas Fornatale in the Money Media and beyond to continue. Ready to kick back into the stakes action?
Oh yeah, let's do it. We got some great stuff coming up here.
Yeah, race number 7, the Ontario Matron Grade 3 event for the ladies, going 8.5 furlongs.
I like number 6, Literate, in this spot. Not up for facing the heavy hitters back on the other huge Woodbine Day just about a month ago in the Taylor, but looks to be very strong at this Grade 3 level on synthetic, and I thought would get a great setup for her late run in this spot. The 10, Caitlin, her greatness, I thought had an opportunity maybe to settle just off the speeds and get back to a stalk and pounce ways like in her career highlight in last year's King's Plate. Definitely wanted her on side as the presumptive best of speed. Not a wild card I'll mention that I'll probably try to work on some tickets somewhere is the 4, Wild Pansy. Very hard to know what to make of the French form on this one. Rapoli and Attard have had 2 other runners with form that looked a lot like this come over, and they both run well in the last couple of seasons. One ran first, one ran second. But looking at the figures they ran, this one will have to be a lot faster to compete at this level. But still, with those connections in a race where I think you could get a little bit cute, wouldn't hate the idea of having a 4 on a ticket or 2, but mostly 6 and a little 10 for me.
I looked at your top pick, Literate. I have no arguments against. Face she feels pretty last time, and the distance may have been a little bit too long. Gets to what I think is a better distance, but I left Literate off. I may regret that. I went out the Fabulously Fab, the defending champion.
Yep.
Won this race last year. This year, 0 for 3 with the 3rd place finish. But improving numbers. Talked to Kevin Attard. We'll hear from him a little bit later, and we talked a little bit about this horse. But again, having won the race last year, coming in, moving in the right direction, I'll put that one on top. I don't think the outside post position is necessarily a bonus, but again, won the race last year, so I'm going back. Wild Pansy. Also talked to Kevin Attard about this one. I looked it up because the scenario was so interesting. This horse was bought at a sale, Arcana, over in Europe in December of last year, $475,000 by Mike Rapoli. Makes the debut in September. I was a little bit concerned about that. But certainly there was some good form over in Europe, and that they paid off almost $500,000 was intriguing. So I agree. This is an interesting horse I have in the mix. And then in the 3rd slot, I went to Caitlin, her greatness, the King's Plate winner from last year. Hasn't quite lived up to that necessarily this year, but again, was in the EP Taylor last time at 1.25 miles. Kevin Attard said this one, probably the distance wasn't in her wheelhouse. She cuts back and gets to a more proper trip today. So for me, in the Matron, 12, 4, 10, and 3. 8th race is in town. Again, one of those nice 2-year-old races up here, winning your end, mile on the grass. This one for the fillies, 10, 6, 1, and 4. And again, I'm outside. We'll see how that works out for me. But I have Deep Learning on top for Chad Brown. Chad and Klarovich ship up to take advantage, I think, of the win in your end situation of a debut victory that was very good. I'll use that one on top. But again, we'll have to see if Flavien Prat can work out a trip from the outside. Hot Mash, by Not This Time, lived up to that in the career debut at Ellis for John Service. Now does stretch out, but again, with the breeding and the debut effort, I think is a player. And then Corsia Veloce, we talked to Josie Carroll about this one. You'll see that coming up a little bit later on, but undefeated and looking good so far. So had to use that one. 10-6, 1-4.
I like Dance to the Music in this spot. I'm with the Appleby team. I just think the horse has the best form in the race between the Newmarket maiden win and the Group 3 victory in the Sweet Solera, also at Newmarket, a race folks will remember Lake Victoria, who went on to Breeders' Cup success last year, had also won in that one. Appleby and Godolphin have won this race twice. Obviously have a terrific sense of which horses are going to take to American racing and will be very aware of the difference in the courses. I love the name, anything that makes me think of Sly and the Family Stone gets my toes tapping, but Dance to the Music for me is a lot more interesting than just a hunch play. This is a horse that I think makes a ton of sense. I respect Corsia Veloce coming out of the successful run in the prep. I could tell a little bit of a tale about Sweet Fusion as well from the Cassie Flotilla, a horse that I think could be getting the right kind of trip, maybe just dropping into the rail with two speedier types to the inside. Those were the main three for me, but Dance to the Music is one that I'll press, and I'll back up with the one-runner Corsia Veloce and the 3 Sweet Fusion.
Another one, like the summer earlier, you can point to a bunch. I didn't use the Appleby horse, going to be interested. And don't forget, we were talking before we went on the air, he won the Sword Dancer down at Saratoga this year. And the horse I alluded to earlier, Dixie Law, Dale DeRusso, we talked to him, and it's his first graded stakes runner. This was a big victory. If you watch the replay of the debut effort, really a good-looking win for Dixie Law. Now, they missed the catch a glimpse. He said he gave a little more oomph to the workout since, but Dixie Law will be one to root for a guy.
Great story.
Wins,
love that.
Enters his first graded race. It's a grade 1 and a win in your end. That would be a nice victory, certainly. All right, the 9th is the big one. It's the exclamation point on the day. Woodbine Mile, grade 1 event, $1 million up for grabs. A mile on the turf. Pete, how'd you see it?
Well, I'm not going to get any points for creativity here. I really like Notable Speech in this spot. I think was helped out tremendously at the draw, getting in the 2 spot. This is one I think maybe I would have been tempted to get a little bit cute, drawn out wide, but down there in the 2 makes a lot of sense. That run in the Marois last time was spectacular, I thought, all things considered, coming from a very difficult position. We talked about how Luke Elder is going to be on in a little bit. Another one of our colleagues at Sky Sports Racing /attheraces.com, Simon Rowlands, had the clocking information on that last furlong for Notable Speech, 10.76. I'm told that's good. This is a serious racehorse who should get the right part of the trip. And
William Buick in for the ride. That's notable.
Definitely another feather in the cap. This is a horse that I really like in this spot. I will have some backups. The 6, My Boy Prince, who's run so well around here at Woodbine, I thought had the chance to maybe prove the best speed and get a good trip that way. And then a fascinating contender, another bit of a wild card, One Stripe, I thought was pretty interesting. Graham Motion has had such success with these South African imports since they started being able to come to the U.S. more regularly due to a change in quarantine rules. This one, I think, on the best bits of form, could get a piece of this. I really think it's Notable Speech's race to lose, but I'll have a little bit of One Stripe and a little bit of My Boy Prince as well.
I agree with you, but I'm taking a shot in here. I'm going to go with Win for the Money on top. I have it 8, 2, 9, and 5. I thought the 6 was also intriguing, My Boy Prince for Mark Casse, but I'm using Mark Casse's Win for the Money. Comes in, I'm a little bit of a homer here. He's coming in off of 2 tries at Saratoga, including a 3rd place finish last time in the 4-star day behind the talented Deterministic. So coming out of those Saratoga tries, I'm going to take my pop with Win for the Money, who has run well up here at Woodbine last year, winning this race at 11-1. So we're going to look for the defending champion to get it done off a couple of Saratoga starts. And then, the Appleby horse looks absolutely legitimate off that near miss last time. And again, we'll have, I believe, a replay of that coming up as well in the next show. So you can see, but it was a really good late run from Notable Speech. And if he runs like that again today, yeah, he's going to be very tough. And then Gas Me Up on the outside for Kevin Attard coming in off the wind in the King Edward. Wyoming Bill for Catherine Day Phillips at 15-1 with Frankie on board. I could make a little case there. It was just behind Gas Me Up last time, so I think is interesting, the 5 horse. But for me, 8, 2, 7, and 5. All right, let's move on to race number 10. Wrapping up our stakes action, the Vigil Grade 3 event, 7 furlongs to the trip. I'm 2, 6, 4, and 8. I'm going to put Simcoe on top. I think this horse will take a lot of action. I will say, up the triple-digit buyer, deserved action, and I land there. But the buyer does maybe stand out a little bit, and I always say, don't get too jacked up about a horse, one race, good or bad, and that's kind of the case here. But the races just before, I think, fit with this bunch. But off of that last race, I had to pull the trigger there. Victory Achieved was second to Simcoe last time, so in the mix as well. And Cruden Bay comes in third start of the season. First couple of starts were on turf. You got on the page, okay, on the synthetic, but I like the third start back angle as well. 2, 6, 4, and 8.
You're very, very similar. Simcoe on top for me. That's such a good point you make about looking for a figure that might be an outlier. But the next step is drill down to what the circumstances were that helped the horse earn that figure. I think they're the same again for Simcoe.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, they have now tactically, this is a horse that they had played around with rating. The dead send seems to be the way to get the best out of this horse. I think they're in a good spot to be able to do that again. Horse looks like the clear speed, and I think we'll run back to that number and probably get it done. The other main one for me that I want to use is another one you mentioned, the forerunner, Cruden Bay. If Simcoe goes too fast, if somebody goes on a mission and it sets up for a closer, this horse is just a really good partner, I think, for horizontal bets, because I'm pretty sure Cruden Bay will be the best closer. And I'm pretty comfortable trying to get out here with Simcoe as the best speed and Cruden Bay as the best closer. But I will throw in Horsepower, the 7 as well, on a ticket or two. Might have moved too soon last time and just looked like another with on-the-board claims. Definitely will have for third in my tries with those top 2, the 2 and the 4.
DJ Stable, who have a lot of for folks down in the who followed Saratoga, a lot of familiar owners here, and obviously today some of the jockeys in town, including Velasquez, but Live Oak Plantation has Victory Achieved, and a lot of American stables, so to speak, have moved up to Woodbine and taken advantage. They have horses who either do well on the turf or the synthetic, and Live Oak is one of those who you see a lot, obviously, with Mark Cassie. All right, last couple of races, non-stakes. The 11th optional claimer, non-winners of one other than a mile and an 8. How'd you see race number 11?
I like number 1, Possibilmente, the best. I thought this was another one that could be the best speed. That workout 2 back maybe signals readiness here, but I don't want to stand alone. The 4, Pierre, makes a lot of sense to me. Ran a big race figure-wise last time off the bench. It might just be getting good for a horse at this level late on in the 4-year-old year. Another one I wanted to cover was the 6, Tis Romantic. Thought that was also possibly a premature middle move last time and looked interesting to me getting back onto the synthetic. 1, 4, and 6.
Yeah, the 6 is 12-1 I looked at, and another one I may regret leaving out, but I went 2, 4, 1, and 3. Have a couple others you have in your mix. Fly to the W, though, on top for me for Marty Drexler. Comes in off a series of races that, 4th and 6th and a 5th, not spectacular. But number-wise, we're okay. I think we'll mix it up with this bunch, and those were against better. So a little class drop, I think, could move the horse forward. Second spot, we'll go with Pierre, who comes in clearly good form. A win 2 back, close-up second last time against relatively similar. And then Possible Monte in the third spot. Hasn't been seen since relatively early in July, but put in a good effort against better. Another one that's playable on the drop. 2, 4, 1, and 3. And we will wrap it up in race 12. It's going to go off about 7:15. So it's a long, interesting day here with stakes in the middle that are going to be very intriguing. But in the 12th and final, 6, 5, 10, and 9 for me, I'm going to put Jayhawk on top. Mark Cassie runner made a very nice comeback off a long layoff. Since then, has put in some nice works that indicate the horse still on his toes. So Jayhawk on top. Lac Makaza in the second spot for Marty Drexler, I think is a solid fit with this group on some class relief from Stakes Try last time off the claim. And then in the third spot, we will take a look at Day Vernon, who comes up from Ellis and Churchill. So moves into the Kevin Attard barn off some Kentucky ventures, and I think is a player as well. 6'5", 10 and 9.
Yeah, this is a spready race for me as well. I put Niagara Skyline on top. Had positive notes on the last two runs. I thought last time closed well into a slow pace, maybe was a little bit better than it looked there. And then two back, I thought moved too quickly into a fast pace. So maybe with the right kind of trip this time around, Niagara Skyline might be able to get things done. Awesome Bourbon, the two, more than just a hunch play for me as well. I thought looked like maybe the best speed in this spot. Another I'd like to have on side. And then two, you mentioned Lac Makaza, looks fast enough on paper. Second time off the claim for Drexler after an ambitious placement last time. Third off the layoff, could be set for a better effort, peak effort this time around. And then Diverne in the 10. Showed some talent in Kentucky. I thought an interesting pedigree to maybe succeed on synth, being by Good Magic and out of a Scat Daddy Dam. I want to spread as much as I can. I like your cases on the others you mentioned here too, but definitely 3, 2, 5, and 10 for me to close out these late picks.
More than a hunch play. I like that. Awesome Bourbon. Pete, it's been fun as always. It's great that we had the coordination. You were up here this weekend as well, so happy to have you sit in. Again, we'll see if we can keep going what we had going down in Saratoga. The first race we handicapped down in Saratoga, you had a nice winner at a price. I had used it in my mix because we were texting back and forth, and I had used the winner of the second race. Mine weren't on top, but I gave out the double as a play in the Times Union. It was a nice double. So hopefully we keep it rolling up here at Woodbine.
Let's keep it going. Now be careful. My colleague from Sky Sports Racing, Luke Elder, is going to be on here in a little bit. Do not get him going about the NFL, or you will talk about nothing else for the whole segment. So just a warning.
All right. So very good. So football to him literally means football. I like that. We will have Luke coming up. We'll talk some European racing with the guy from Europe for Sky Sports, and we'll have some of those tape pieces from yesterday as well. But we're going to wrap things up for the Handicappers Report. Again, Pete, thanks a lot. Folks should check out In the Money Media. You can look at their website or go type in search engine, all the content over on YouTube as well. Pete, thanks.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, we'll wrap it up for the Handicappers Report. Stay tuned after the break. Back with racing across. Usually it's racing across America. Now it's racing across North America, right? So stay tuned.
A service of Capital Off-Track Betting.